You know there was always that one film you loved as a kid and you watched it all the time for no reason, and then years later you watch it again and you realise that the movie is unmistakably terrible, and over the years you always had really fond memories of it, but then when rewatching it you realise that there is no hiding, the movie you loved as a kid was awful, and you realise how you even liked it so much. Well, that happened to me, sort of. Actually, kind of the opposite, and that's with the 2005 animated film Hoodwinked. Now, as a kid, I loved this film, but it wasn't actually until lockdown last year when I found it and I thought, I might as well give this a try. Now, the copy I had as a kid wasn't exactly amazing, the quality wasn't great, the sound was off, and you could never seem to turn the subtitles off. But all of that aside, I actually kind of find it quite funny because it would always just skip the ending about an hour into the film. Like, it would just skip the whole climax. So after all of these years and all of the times I've seen this movie, I have never seen the ending. Until now. Yeah, it turns out the whole movie's just on YouTube, so I guess that turned out good. Now, on rewatching this film, I actually found it really good. Yeah, I was surprised. Did I have good taste as a kid? No, probably not, because I remember the film Garfield being a cinematic masterpiece, and well, it's not. Now, I'm not going to let my childhood nostalgia for this film get in the way of obvious flaws, because this film, at times, is just straight up weird.
For little girls and boys to eat schnitz.
But I thought, hey, why not go back to one of my favourite childhood films and see how absolutely bizarre and sometimes horrifying this children's film is. Does that sound good? Alright, let's get into it. So the movie starts off with, in my opinion, the best scene in the entire movie. And yes, I know that this scene might be, let's just say, inspired by another fairy tale movie, but this is just a common use of storytelling, you know? Plus, I grew up with this movie, not Shrek. So the movie begins with the iconic scene of Red delivering the goodies to her granny, who in this movie looks like off-brand Marge Simpson, and possibly Gru's mother from Despicable Me. Now, most people remember Little Red Riding Hood from their childhood as the classic fairy tale that has delighted children through many generations. Yeah, this is what I think of when I think of Little Red Riding Hood.
Crazy wolf. What have you done with Granny?
I'm taking Granny down, and you're next.
Granny!
But you, that's not my fault.
So we are straight in. It looks like Granny's house is now the scene of a crime. Now, this movie takes place in an animal-human society, but they still eat meat and have pets, so gee, I think they're making the wrong movie. Now, the main premise of this movie is that the police think that this incident is connected to the Goody Bandit, who goes around stealing all the recipes in the forest. And the cop here just wants to arrest everyone, because apparently in this universe, no one is good at doing their job. But before the bear can book them all, this frog with freakishly long legs and talks like a Shakespeare play turns up to the crime scene, despite not even being on the case. And then from here just takes over the entire investigation.
Slow down, Chief. We've got 4 suspects, and that means 4 stories. And if you get people talking long enough...
Which means we can get this movie to a feature-length runtime. I mean, we can solve the case appropriately. Of course. But can you just imagine someone coming in and just crashing an entire police investigation? So, what do we have here? Ah, looks like he's dead. Actually, it's an open and shut case. It was that guy. What a newspaper prints isn't always the truth. There are 3 suspects in this room. Any one of them could be guilty. Yes, but he's still holding the murder weapon. Unless you are good at guessing, there is not much use being a detective. No, but he just admitted to killing him. Oh yeah, I hated that guy. See, it's an open and shut case. Things are never what they seem. That guy looks oddly suspicious. Oh, come on. So this frog's name is Nicky Flippers, and he basically just takes over the case by getting everyone's side of the story. First starting with Red herself, which takes us back to the start.
Here's a story I hope you'll like. It's the one about the girl.
I forgot this was a musical. I mean, it is a musical when it wants to be. I don't know, I guess I just wanted to have a few catchy songs in there, so yay. I guess that's why the studio funded the movie themselves, so they had complete creative control over the whole thing. So Red is heading over to Granny's house, but on her way she passes all the businesses that have closed because of the Goody Bandit. Because it seems like in this world, the only thriving businesses are the ones that sell goodies. What a great economy. But worried that Granny's recipes might get stolen, she gets the recipe book and heads over to her house.
They're gonna shut down everyone in the forest if we're not careful.
No!
How on earth did she survive that fall and land like that? I mean, I'm not surprised because people in this movie are just sustaining massive injuries with no harm done. But in this dark forest, she runs into Wolf, who just sprays with pepper spray and is just totally fine with him falling to his death and drowning. After this, she runs into a singing goat to ask directions to Granny's house, because apparently she doesn't know how to get there already. Which is where we get another musical number.
Oh, good. More singing.
37 years ago, it's done put a spell on me.
I know.
A spell where when I'm talking, I'm singing it with me.
Apparently when they were making this film, they were actually going to cut this singing goat out, but when they showed it to the kids, they loved it so much that they decided to keep it in. Although even when I was a kid, I absolutely hated this character. I found him super annoying. And I still do. Nothing's changed.
I got horns that open bottles, and I got horns that hold my keys.
But he does provide a very helpful way to get to Granny's house, and you guessed it, they nearly get swallowed by an avalanche and fall to their death. Nah, I'm just kidding, these characters are immortal. They're fine. Even the goat. Unfortunately. After all of this, Red finally does make it to Granny's house, and we are back to the start.
He was screaming? Like a maniac.
But now it's time for the Wolf side of the story, and this might just be the best one. Turns out that he's a reporter, and he's onto Red from the beginning because he thinks that she's up to something. But can you really blame him, because she is singing a song while riding her bike about how unfair her life is. So basically, Red would make the perfect Disney princess. Just saying. Now, from Wolf's side of the story, he looks like he's pretty innocent.
Rather, you didn't.
I'm in place. Come back here. Red Riding Hood. We'll never catch her. Taxi! Whoa, that was her. We passed her. Right here's fine.
This movie is so self-aware, I love it. But like everyone in this movie, he has no regard for anyone's life, and he blows up the track that Red was on, sending her flying.
Did you hear something?
Also, he breaks into a little old lady's house and dresses like her, so maybe not completely innocent. And somehow Red does not even get the hint straight away that this is clearly not her granny. So, clearly not the brightest. But anyway, that brings us back to the start again.
But you, that's not my fault.
After Wolf, they decide, yeah, let's bring in the axe-wielding maniac. So they do. Turns out that this guy is an actor who drives a schnitzel truck. Wait, hold up. He drives the schnitzel truck in a place where there are sentient pigs. Alright, wrap up the investigation, we have clearly bigger problems here. I mean, look at this guy. He is just staring straight into my soul. Thankfully, the movie does not acknowledge this, and we get another musical number.
I bring much joy to the children. Schnitzel!
Mommy, I want a schnitzel!
Oh my god, what is up with those children? Why do they look so poorly animated? But all of this is interrupted when the Goody Bandit robs the truck.
What the schnitzel?
And honestly, I'm relieved. I could not listen to that song and look at those devil children for a moment longer. Most of the background characters in this movie just do not blink, and they have like a couple of basic movements, so basically they're NPC characters. But anyway, this guy gets a call back for an audition and they tell him that he must really try and be the most convincing Axeman for the role. So obviously he takes that as cutting down all of the trees in the forest. I'm telling you, this guy should just be locked up right now. Stop the investigation. He's clearly guilty. But in a world where animals live in a human society, isn't this guy technically just destroying all of these homes? See, this is the problem with method acting. What if this guy was auditioning for anything else? No, officer, you have it all wrong. I didn't mean to cause all of this disruption, you see. I'm auditioning for a film. Oh, I'm sorry, that's our bad. We didn't realise. What's the film? I think it's that sequel to Halloween. What? But when he sees a massive tree, he just cuts it down and, like everyone else in this movie, manages to survive. And we're back to the start again. But we are not done yet, even though they should just totally arrest the axe guy right now and then. Hey Red, do you still have that pepper spray on you? Now Granny's story is probably the most confusing because it turns out that she is a straight up daredevil who was competing in an extreme skiing tournament against these terribly rendered animated humans. They look like something off an early 2000s video game. But the main guy on the opposition skiing team, now while looking like a rejected PS2 character, as I mentioned, on my old version of the movie, I could never manage to turn the subtitles off. And in captions, it would always say when he talked in an Australian accent.
Who is the bandit?
I can't tell you that.
Young man, you tell me this instant.
All right. We were hired by the bandit.
Which, I'm sorry. Really? Do we really sound like that? This guy is clearly German. Anyway, not a big deal. Moving on. So Granny is absolutely killing it on the slopes. And they also explain what happened to the avalanche earlier. Turns out Granny caused it because it made her look cool, I guess. But I'm sorry, none of these characters are stable whatsoever. They have no regard for any human life. At this point, the bear should just arrest all of them.
Just book 'em.
But yeah, Granny flies back down to her house, entangles herself, and we are back to the start once again. And yeah, I guess we're back to the beginning, where Red storms out because she is not too happy to find out that her granny has been lying to her all of these years, and she can't even leave the forest. But I'm sure Red is fine. I mean, she survived this fall with no physical injuries. This is where the goody bandit walks straight into the crime scene and takes Granny's recipe book, and we find out who it has been all along.
There's someone else. The only one who was with Red when she fell. Who knew a shortcut to Granny's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in fact, I know a shortcut.
Who fraternizes with evil ski teams.
What's your name?
Just put to my biggest and cutest fan.
And someone who was there when the schnitzel truck was schnitzeled.
What the schnitzel?
Not the bunny!
I forgot to mention this, but so far the bunny's just been turning up in everyone's stories, and no one thought that was suspicious.
Maybe someday somebody will open up a great big goodie shop and we can all work for that little guy.
So the bunny goes to his secret lair, and there are the skiing team helping him out. But why exactly are they helping him out? I mean, aren't they like a national skiing team? What have they got to earn from helping this little bunny sell goodies? I mean, come on, get your priorities straight. But thankfully, Red is there to step in and save the day. Now, considering Red has survived multiple injuries in this movie and beat up a wolf that is twice her size, surely she can beat up a little bunny.
And kablam!
Oh, okay, never mind. And of course, because they want to get this movie to 80 minutes, we have another musical number.
Up of the woods now, baby! When you're hopping on down the bunny trail.
Where he strangely enough just predicts what Disney are going to be doing in the next 10 years.
We've really grown in the past year. Nabbing all the recipes was phase 1. Phase 3 gets a little messy. I'm gonna need a lot of real estate down the mountain, so I've got to blow the competition away.
But I don't think I can properly prepare you for the climax of this musical number. I don't know if the animators were just having a bad day, but just roll the clip.
Oh, you won't be disrespecting this bunny no more, 'cause I'm gonna be top of the woods. Oh yeah, I said I'm gonna be top of the woods. Let's bring it on home. I said I'm gonna be top of the wood. You've been hoodwinked, baby.
That's the name of the movie.
I know. The song was catchy, but the choreography was terrible.
Hey, back off, Wolf. That's my job. Now, past this point in the movie, I've actually never seen before because I remember my copy of the movie would always just cut to the final 2 minutes, so I'm looking forward to this. So they manage to sneak into the secret lair, which is located right in the middle of the forest, and just all hell breaks loose.
Bunny. Yeah! Come kill her. Come kill her.
Which leads to Red to be sent to be blown up, which seems a bit extreme, don't you think? What's their final goal? To start a goodie business. Yeah, that's about right. But thankfully Red escapes pretty easily and she dangles off the side of the ski lift, looking down like, oh, what am I gonna do? But didn't she, like, just fall the same height that day? I mean, seriously. But they arrest the bad guys and all that's left is thousands of dollars worth of property damage and destruction. Good job, guys.
What happened here tonight?
My granny swooped in and saved me. And the whole forest.
It was my Red who saved the day.
Well, it was a group effort, spearheaded by myself, of course.
You'll be able to read the entire story in tomorrow's column, but I will take a few questions at this time.
Yeah, it was good, you know, hundreds of animals have lost their homes and the cleanup's going to take forever, but, you know, what else do you expect from an animated kids film? I still don't trust that Axeman, though.
Appearing in our upcoming ad campaign.
I got a call back.
No, don't touch.
And like every good film, a Nick Fury type of character comes around at the end to try and set up the sequel.
A lot of stories out there that need a happy ending. I'm part of a secret organization that makes sure that happens.
Bring it, honey.
I always did like happy endings.
What are you doing? Hey, don't talk to me about happy endings. You're the one that made Hoodwinked too. So yeah, that's Hoodwinked. Is it as good as I remember? Honestly? Yeah, it is. I think the whole story is really good and the whole movie is just underrated. I feel like a lot of reason people don't remember this movie and like it very much is because of the animation. And yes, while I do admit the animation hasn't held up amazing, this movie only had a budget of $8 million and a lot of the movie had to be rushed by the end to get it done. And also, a lot of the animators were actually learning how to use this type of computer program to get the movie made. So they were learning on the job. And considering what the final product was, I actually think that's pretty impressive. Now, while the animation does look a bit cringy at times, this movie is extremely funny. Most of the jokes land, and the humour in the story is what really carries the movie. A lot of the jokes actually went over my head as a kid, but watching it now, I can really appreciate it for what it is. The whole investigation and the characters giving their side of the story isn't really something I've seen in too many animated films before, and it really works. So I'm glad I came back to watch Hoodwinked after all of these years. The film was actually really good and surprised me in a lot of parts, and I was actually surprised on how much I remembered as a kid. Maybe if this movie had been made by another animation studio, like Pixar or DreamWorks, it actually might be a classic, but I still think it is an incredibly underrated film. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you next Friday.